Hello friends, it's great to reconnect with you all. Today I've got a wild story to share about the Homeowners Association, HOA, that tried to claim the extra rooms in my house. Growing up, I didn't have much in the way of luxuries, so buying my own home felt like the ultimate achievement. In my mid-20s, I set a goal to work hard and eventually live near the ocean. My dad always said, "If you can live by the water, it'll transform how you see the world." That stuck with me, and by my early 30s, I'd saved enough for a down payment on a lovely seaside home. It wasn't a mansion, but with 5 rooms and plenty of space, it was perfect for Miss Simeone who loves hosting friends and family. Even with my parents' VY sighting for a week each month or out-of-state buddies dropping by for the beach, I still had a spare room or two. It was exactly what I dreamed of. Little did I know, this simple choice to buy a 5-room house and live in it mostly alone would ignite a firestorm with a nosy neighbor, a meddling HOA, and even lead to someone calling 911 over my house keys. From the moment I moved in, I noticed the neighborhood had an HOA with some quirky rules. I'd never lived under one before and figured it'd be manageable, maybe just some basic guidelines to keep things tidy and property values steady. Boy, was I mistaken. The weekend after I closed on the house, I tried introducing myself to neighbors while unloading boxes. Most were friendly, asking typical questions like where I'd moved from and why I'd chosen the area. But a couple gave me odd looks, especially when I said I lived alone. I recall one neighbor, a woman named Sandra, asking in a baffled tone, "Why does a single person need all that space?" I brushed it off as curiosity or maybe a local preference for smaller homes. A week later, I got my first taste of the HOA's overreach. While I was unwinding on my back patio, sipping coffee and soaking in the ocean breeze, there was a knock at my door. It was a man in a polo shirt with the HOA logo, introducing himself as Martin, a board member. He seemed nervous, clutching a clipboard as he explained he was doing a routine check to ensure new homeowners knew the rules. I didn't think much of it and invited him in, not realizing I was about to unleash a flood of petty demands. Inside, Martin scanned my levying room and the hallway to the guest rooms, jotting notes. Then he casually asked, "We see you've got a 5-bedroom layout here. Do you live alone?" I nodded, explaining I often host guests, me parents, old friends, or beach levying acquaintances. He raised an eyebrow and said, "That's a lot of space for one person. We're concerned about safety and property use. There's a rule about not exceeding occupancy or using space commercially." I assured him I wasn't running a business or renting rooms, just hosting loved ones. I even offered to show him the guest rooms to prove it was normal. He nodded but seemed fixated on the idea that one person shouldn't have so many empty rooms. After 15 minutes of touring the house and answering questions about its layout and guest frequency, I thought we were done. Then he dropped a bombshell. "We have a policy requiring the HOA to hold spare keys for every property for emergencies or maintenance when owners are away. You'll need to provide the keys for all locks, including interior doors if they lock separately." My stomach dropped. I'd never heard of an HOA demanding keys to every door. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that. Emergency services or a locksmith could handle crises. But he insisted it was mandatory, saying we keep them secure in the HOA office. "It's for your safety and the community's." I asked to see the rule in writing. He flipped through his clipboard and handed me a handbook citing vague terms about authorized entry for emergencies, but nothing required me to surrender private keys. I refused, citing privacy concerns. He looked stunned and warned, "We might have to escalate this. No one here refuses that policy, it's for your protection." Something felt off, but I stayed polite, thanked him, and stood firm. That evening, a notice was taped to my door reiterating the key demand and threatening daily fines if I didn't comply within 10 days. I was floored. Frustrated, I turned to a neighbor 2 doors down, a cheerful older guy named Tom who'd lived there for over 2 decades. Tom was shocked. He said the HOA had overstepped before, but demanding keys to every house was unheard of. "They might be testing you because you're new and alone," he guessed. "They think you won't push back." The next day, I consulted a property lawyer who laughed at the absurdity. He confirmed no private group could force me to hand over keys, unless it was explicitly in my purchase contract, and even then, it'd be shaky legally. Armed with this, I decided to hold my ground, refusing the HOA and asking for proof of their authority. For weeks, they bombarded me with letters about fines, which I ignored, documenting everything. I kept levying my life, working remotely, strolling by the sea to unwind. When my parents VY sighted, the drama escalated. On their third day, I caught Martin peering into my back windows. I confronted him, and he claimed he was checking safety measures. I told him he was trespassing and to put concerns in writing. 2 days later, another neighbor, a young guy named Jake, paced my driveway, saying if you follow the rules, we wouldn't have to watch you. My dad overheard and told Jake we could handle our own locks. The tension was palpable. Then came the craziest moment. One Sunday morning, I woke to frantic banging on my door. It was my next-door neighbor, Ethan, someone I'd barely spoken to. He was wild-eyed, yelling through the door. "I'm calling 911 if you don't give me the keys." Confused, I cracked the door and asked what he meant. He shouted, "I told Martin I'd get your keys. We won't let some weirdo with extra rooms break our rules." It was surreal. This guy was threatening police action over my refusal to give the HOA my keys. I told him to leave or I'd call the cops myself. He dialed 911, claiming I was violating HOA laws and needed immediate help. I locked the door, doubting the police would care. But 15 minutes later, 2 officers arrived. I explained everything, showing them the HOA letters and my refusals. They were baffled, telling Ethan, "This is a CIVIL issue, not criminal. We can't make him give keys to a private group." Ethan fumed, ranting about my 5 rooms, but the officers shut him down, warning him about harassment. They offered to file a report, which I accepted, feeling uneasy about his behavior. You'd think police involvement would stop the HOA, but not. He kept sending fine notices, even threatening a lien. My lawyer drafted a cease and desist, warning of lawsuits if they didn't stop. Turns out, the key rule wasn't even ratified. It was Martin's pet project. Rumors spread that I was running a hostel, which Tom squashed at a local diner. Other neighbors shared their own HOA horror stories, like fines for small pets or yard decor. At a board meeting, I presented my case letters, lawyer responses, and neighbor support. Martin floundered, unable to justify the key policy. The community turned on him, and he was ousted amid cheers. Things settled after that. The new board apologized, retracted fines, and pushed for transparent rules. I held off suing but kept my options open. Life normalized. Me parents VY sighted without hassle, friends came by, and the beach felt sweeter. Ethan faded into the background, embarrassed. I still have my keys, my 5 rooms, and my peace. Standing up paid off not just for me but for the whole neighborhood. See you soon, friends.